Y'all come on, let me know. Let me know if you can hear me, okay, guys? Put a thumbs up if you can hear me. Put a thumbs up if you can hear me. Can you hear me? Okay, okay. So I can be heard. Hey, Floyd. Okay, we're watching Real Talk with your boy Noland Pruitt. Listen, we've had a time. Okay, we've had a time. I've had a whole interview with the one and only B Slade, and you guys couldn't see it. Oh, it's embarrassing. It's so embarrassing. But okay, if you guys are coming in, put a thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay, I need to make sure everybody can hear me, so we can do this right. Okay. Hi. Hey, Cassie, can you hear me? Okay. You can hear me, right? Can you hear me? Hold on one second. Woo! The devil's so upset. He's so upset. Hello? Hello? I don't know. Here's what we're gonna do. But you can hear me. Put a thumbs up, B Slade, if you can hear me. Oh,
How
I can
about
hear you
now?
now.
You can hear me now? I can hear
Yes.
you. Okay, great. We in there.
We're in there. All right, listen. Me and B Slade have had a whole interview and you guys couldn't see it. Am I telling the truth, right?
Yeah,
I'm telling the truth, right?
it's all good. It's
We
all
had a
good.
great conversation. We loved on each other. We talked about so many things, but we're gonna do a fast version because I could not let the night go by. First of all, you're watching Real Talk with your boy Nolan Pruitt for the ones that are coming in. Now we see your names coming in.
Yeah.
And we're gonna do a really speed course. He has a great heart. I love him. He's my brother. He's my friend, and he wanted to come back and just talk to you and rap with you guys. So this portion of the show, we're going to be asking him some questions. Now, before we get started, B Slade, my
Yes.
friend Cassie wants you to say "I love you, Cassie," and she wants you to wave at her.
Uh, I love you, Cassie. I love you, Cassie.
That's so awkward, ain't it? I'm sorry, Cassie. He loves you.
I love you.
Kiki. And she said she loved you too. Okay, listen. So let's talk about a little bit. You guys get your questions ready down there because we're going. It's a speed course, okay? Because he's on a precious time. We talked about he's on tour with Miss Patti LaBelle currently. We talked
Yes.
about also all his credits. Did you not know that this man is an actor? He's a songwriter, a producer. He wrote the theme song for the TV show One on One. Y'all remember that TV show
Yeah.
One on One? He wrote the theme song. He also did some work in the movie Triple X State of the Union. And like we said earlier,
Yeah.
not that Triple X.
Right.
We're talking about Triple X State of the Union.
The title of the movie.
Title of the movie for you sinners out there, my God. And he's also he did the theme song for Flex Your Niece, and he's also on tour with Patti LaBelle. But he just told me last time when we were talking and you guys went in there, he told me that he just been nominated for Dove Award. I think it was 2 or 3.
It was for one dub for Snoop's new album, Snoop Bible
One,
of Love.
yeah,
One. I
one
think it
Dove
was
for
one.
Snoop Dogg's
Yeah,
album.
yeah, yeah.
We speak 3. And I'm Messiah. We
No, but I
speak
have
3.
two. I have two already, but this will be my third. But my first
That's where I
nomination.
got it.
Yeah.
That's where I got that from. Okay. All right, so listen up. Can you tell them briefly? We talked about you having 6 brothers. We talked about your upbringing.
Yes.
Let's talk about start them where you talked about when Out of the Box came and you switching up your styles and the record label. Share just a little bit about that. Just a recap.
Oh yeah. Well, I was just talking about how like there was supposed to be a different album between O2 and Out the Box, but I went through like 11 or 12, 13 versions of O2 before the label finally settled on what we decided to put out in the commercial marketplace. I knew that at that time I was going to have to learn how to make concessions, not compromises. Like concession is when you know you're giving up a little bit of something for the bigger picture. Compromise is when you're losing everything that you stood for just to get ahead. So I chose, you know, to make the concession, and that meant like realizing that the label, you know, that's, can I keep this on me?
Oh, you need a light?
Yeah, I need light because, you know, melanin, you know, we all get all greasy looking. Yeah, it's so.
Who is that child? Like,
See,
you won't lie.
I'm at, no, this is, I'm getting my, y'all caught me in the middle. My sister convinced me to, my sister convinced me to come get a manicure and pedicure. I needed it, so, but anyway, I realized that I had to, you know, work with the labels because they're the ones spending the millions of dollars, you know, on me. You know, they're the ones who's making the investment. You know, so, you know, let's find a way to give them the tools they need and then fit in the artistic needs that I had, and it turned out being my most successful project. We just went platinum with that project. It took a little while to get there. We've been gold a long time, but we finally made platinum, and I'm really excited about, you know, the legacy of Out the Box and how many people around the world tell me that that album is what they shed to, or what they learned how to play their instrument on, or how they first started singing and first started writing was because of the DVD and, you know, that album. How much all over the world is a very influential album.
Oh, because they were singing all over the world, Lord, man. Oh. Yeah.
Hey, oh, so the person that did my hair, Dina, she's in here. Everybody say what's up, Dina.
Hi, Dina.
Yeah.
Hello.
So, oh,
Oh, hi.
Hey,
So
what's up,
listen,
Shaka? All my fans up in here.
what's up, fans? Listen, hey, Dina, you're watching Real Talk with your boy Noland Pruitt, and I'm chatting it up. This show is where we keep it real and we chat it up. Now we
way
talk
better,
about
Nolan. This worked out for the good, though. This worked out.
He really did. God is for us.
Yeah.
So, we talked about your upbringing, and we talked about. Tell me what your dad said to you. He was giving you a hard time about your name. I love that story. And tell me when he came around and gave you.
Okay, so it was right around that same time, you know, for out the box time. And hold on, he told me to put my other hand up. Okay, so
Okay.
yeah, that's good. You can still see. And we went to. Well, first of all, he didn't like the fact. At first, Tone was spelled Tone. There was no X. So then the group Tony like spelled it like that. So I was like, okay, that's different, but I don't want it to be exactly the same. So around 17, 18, I changed it to Tone, but the X was silent. The first album was called Silent X, and my dad wasn't really into the way that the name was spelled because it was like he thought it meant something to do with like Malcolm X or Islam or something. He thought it could suggest that. You know, we were super duper apostolic, so I was just like, no, you don't even pronounce the X. It's like Thibodeau. So years later go by, whatever, and so Out the Box comes out. We go to Barnes and Noble because he wants to pick up Billboard magazine. And when he picked up Billboard magazine, he opened it up and he saw that, you know, Tone was #1. We debuted at #1 around the world for top gospel album. He looked at it, nodded his head, closed the magazine. He called me Bub. He said, "Hey, Bub." It's like, looks like this Tone thing worked out after all. So that's my favorite story, you know, because it's kind of like, you know, sometimes we do have to do things a little bit different than what our parents kind of like lay out for us. It's not that we don't love them. It's just that maybe the way they see us is not the way God sees us. You know what I'm saying? Like, you may have a plan for me up to a certain point, but then God also gives your children visions, you know? And so to just have my father, just to validate it, he could have just said that in his heart and known about it. But the fact that he actually said it to me, that was a crowning achievement personally for me, for just me and my father. Yeah.
You did good, boy. It was one of those. This is really real talk behind the scenes, because
Yes.
he's over here getting a Manny and a Petty, and so we appreciate him taking out this time. But let's talk about how you dropped your family after doing one single with them, and you wanted to go solo. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Okay, so I have a solo, a
Okay. Oh,
family.
it's not funny. It's not funny.
I did a family single called Hog Pen Experience. Like the prodigal son was in the hog pen. Nolan, there's even like oinking sounds on the single. Like you can hear pig. Yeah, there's pig sounds on it and everything, bro. So
Stop
so
playing. Stop playing.
and I mean it's cool. I wrote the verses and stuff and sang, and you can actually hear my range. As a 10-year-old, you can hear, you can see it's like very Michael Jackson, like Jackson 5 kind of vibe. And then after that single came out, I set my family down, and I was like, hey, um, about this like family group thing. I said it just like that. I was like, I think I'm just gonna go in a different direction. You guys. my family gagged, man. Like, no, nigga, no, you what?
This man set his family down at age 11 and told him, bro, like this, listen, this ain't gonna work. I don't know what y'all came to do, but where did this boldness come from?
You know what? It was like I knew already I was gonna be doing some stuff that my family. I just knew they weren't gonna get it. They would maybe get it later after everybody else accepted it, but. My mom wasn't too fond of me listening to the Winans It's Time. Like, that was kind of worldly to her. So she used to tell me, making all these crazy beats with all these whistles and bells and loops. And
Come on, mother, holiness. But okay, so tell my viewers, though, that your mother was actually in a secular girl group, though. Your father,
my mom and dad were mainstream artists first. That's how they met. My dad was my mom's backup band. His group was called Four Kings and a Joker, and my mom's group was called the Craverells. So they ended up going on tour together. And she says distinctly that my dad was different from the other band members because he didn't cuss and he didn't do all the other stuff that the other guys was doing. There was something different. He had respect about him, treated her with respect. So there's this story about he was so good that she liked him so much that she, as a date, she decided to make him some greens while they was on tour. On the road, any of us who travel, greens don't come easy on the road. You're not going to just find those anywhere, and I don't eat everybody's greens.
Right.
So, she hooked him up with some greens, and his band members thought they was going to get into her room on his marker. And she's like, no, not you, hoodlums. You don't get to come in here, but this one right here gets to come and have some greens. So my dad got to have the greens dinner. Come to find out, after it was done, he came out. Them niggas was sleeping around outside of my mom's room, wanting just the greens juice. So she let them in, and they took wheat bread and white bread and just soaked up the greens juice and ate on the bread. They wanted greens so bad.
Listen, because when you carry the anointing, they want the juice from the bowl. You know what I'm saying? That is dope. So after that, me and him, we've been laughing on all day.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So after that, your parents hook up. They had 6 children, and then we talked about. And we didn't talk about marriage, but we're gonna get into that. We didn't talk about your marriage, but we're gonna get into that just for a little bit. But then comes the moment. Before we get into that, tell us about the two men, because you are what we call a true tenor, like a true countertenor. You are, like I said earlier, and like a lot of you guys are hearing just now. You can't mention Gabriel. You can't mention. I even go to say Whitney Houston. You can't mention these people vocally and not think about these Slade. You can't, because you have done some stuff to prove to not just the world, but to prove to people's hearts as singers and musicians that you're here to stay and that you're timeless. And so let's talk about that moment where you said, "Hey, I'm really going to do this professionally. Like, this is about to happen for me." Let's talk about that moment.
Well, when I was
when was the moment where things were speeding up and you was like, "Whoa, like I'm out here now," you know?
Yeah. So Daryl Coley began to influence me like way later on, like when I was like 16, somewhere in there. you know, I was working with Eddie Baltrip and Voices of Fulfillment, and Daryl Coley kind of endorsed them. So I was able to like work with him because he came in to make sure that their album was good. But he also taught me a lot of dope vocal techniques. But that was later on. Before him, my main male influence is a man named from Richmond, California. His name is Vincent Manyweather. It's spelled Many Weather, Manyweather. Vincent Manyweather.
Y'all go look him up, yo. Vincent Manyweather, right?
Yes, and he is, if I'm Neo, he would be my vocal Morpheus.
Wow.
So, male.
Wow.
He's the first person I heard use all of the range, you know, the top and the bottoms, the long notes. Like, he held a note almost a minute. It was like 52, 53 seconds. And came out of it with a run. So when you see me, like, you know, I'll do like He Touched Me or something like that, or like sing a traditional hymn, and I'll hold a note a really, really long time. The audacity to even know it's possible is because of this man defying all of the rules, you know, as far as how long, how high, how deep, how strong, I'd never seen that before live.
Wow.
So I always wanted to be him. And I plan to introduce him to the world. He's still living and still singing. You know, when I have the platform, I plan to like really number one, honor him, and number two, make sure people hear his gift, because without him, you know, that was my DNA vocally, you know, and then Daryl Coley, and then I would be remiss if I didn't say how much of an influence Walter Hawkins had on me as far as range is concerned, and songwriting. Like, just his melodies and stuff were very pop based, very radio friendly melodies against like very Kojic contextual traditionalism, and the merge of the two. I love a good melody, so it's like these guys were doing things that you just weren't supposed to do. Countertenors are not that popular. Like, when I was growing up as a kid, like, I was always defending my honor because niggas always call me faggot, or you sing like a girl, or you sing too high, or would leave like stupid messages on my answering machine, and my parents were healed and calling me names and stuff. Like, you pay a price for singing that high, but I didn't care. I knew I had a special gift, and if you keep singing in those higher ranges, gentlemen, you won't lose as much. It's when you allow people to tell you can't that you stop practicing, and then before you know it, you just lose that range altogether.
And that's why I have you in my life. Because no, but seriously, because it's so funny that you mentioned that, and we didn't mention that previous. A lot of people have made fun of me growing up because my voice, my repertoire was so high, you know.
Yeah.
And the fact that you said that, it really hits places for a lot of us watching. It really does.
Yes.
It really does.
And let's go. Go ahead. Yes, so you look like you came out of the wilderness.
So he's talking about, first of all,
you doing that Ray Day shot?
You talking about my beard, how rough I look? First of all, Atlanta's traffic is terrible.
No, you
I'm not paying no attention to him. Atlanta's traffic is terrible, and so I wasn't able to get a lineup. I pressed my way to this interview. You hear? He don't understand my system. Anyway, let's talk about.
This is way better. Like, this is what we actually planned on doing, so I like it that it's better. It's happening this way.
Yeah, I think so too. So, and we get to see him out in the public. Oh my God, this is really behind the scenes. Hey guys, thank you guys for coming in. Keep coming in, keep sharing. A lot of people are saying hello. Listen, guys, we're gonna take 2 or 3 questions. So please send your questions by Reno, and so we can ask them to them. Okay. Tell me what you think about. Your top 2 vocal performances. And this, don't think about these questions. All stress, no. Your top 2 vocal performances that you would sing with at a drop of a dime. Like at 2 o'clock in the morning, they call you, you'll sing with them. Go.
Patti LaBelle. That's one.
Okay.
Who did I say last time? Do you remember? It was
Patti LaBelle, and then you said, of course, the gift herself. You said.
Who did I say? Forever, for always, for love. Remember?
No, I
Layla
swear I'm having a
Hathaway.
complete brain fart. Who did I say? I can't remember.
Layla Hathaway.
Oh, yes. My bad. She was actually first. She was first. I actually mentioned her first, and then it was, yeah. Sorry about that, you guys. I already answered these, but we wanted to put you back inside of the thing, so forgive me.
We try to when I tell you we had a great conversation. We try to put you up on game. So listen,
Yeah, I ain't trying to put him out there like he don't know what he's talking about. He totally had the answer. That wasn't him. That's me. My bad.
This is TV. We have to keep it going. Listen, so
Right.
we talked about, and I know I use a lot. I know I sing with Ricky Dillard, and we talked about a lot about the gospel preparation it takes. And I kept on using the example of the McDonald's tour. McDonald's sponsors a gospel tour.
Yes.
So I'm asking you again a question. If McDonald's tour of any other big gospel platform were to call you and say, "Hey, we want to bring you on." If you were not on tour with a Patti LaBelle right now, you had all these things going on. Would you say yes or no? And what would be your reasoning behind your answer?
It would probably be a no, because I know that I still want to express myself in a certain way. And if McDonald's is sponsoring a gospel tour, there are certain, or at least perceived, attributes that you have to possess in order to maintain that kind of major global corporate sponsorship. So knowing that I'm liable to want to express myself any type of way, I would respectfully decline until I am ready to follow suit for whatever that sponsorship may require of me. Because when we're doing ensemble tours, more than one person's paycheck is going to be affected by any one of our actions. Not just Leandria. If any person or choir member or musician in that group, their actions could cause a liability towards a major global well-known brand, then you have to really be mindful of that. Yes, we are ourselves, but that has to be taken into consideration. And then sometimes it's like, I don't care if it is McDonald's, this ain't right, and then you can also make that choice as well. But when you're dealing with an ensemble cast, other people's livelihoods definitely can be affected by our personal feelings, or it's there's no right or wrong answer, but just know that everything we do, it in some way affects someone. You just got to know what stuff you can't worry about that, and let the chips fall where they go, or let me figure out a way to channel this, through my art, or put it somewhere else.
Right. So I love it. A great answer. We talked about. Can we segue into this? We talked about.
And by the way, that's my sister. So, Leandria didn't say anything that I haven't heard preachers and musicians and singers say behind closed doors, in probably even more explicit terms. So it's amazing how everybody gets real, like, oh my God, I can't believe blah 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 blah. It's just like, yeah, and I can't believe you have a Grindr page. I mean, what's worse? You know what I'm saying? So get over it. There's a time and place for everything. I get it, but it just really made me look at everybody like, y'all need to really just stop. Just quit acting so appalled and so flabbergasted. If you didn't say it out loud, you thought it. So there's pros and cons to that stuff. Wait, I can't hear you. What's happening?
The truth will set you free. That's all I have to say on that. And let's go into so you've worked along some of the. I mean, can you hear me? Okay, so we talked about tell Tanta Juan stop doing all that. No, we talked the differences. You've worked along some of the best secular artists. Janet Jackson. You worked along with